I'm with Realize Bradenton. My job description is creative services and community building, and Realize Bradenton does about 80 downtown events. And then I also am one of the park coordinators, where I help work with organizations coming to the park, setting up at the park, from everything from police to cleanup to permitting. I have been working with Embracing Our Differences and have loved working with Embracing Our Differences and bringing them to the Riverwalk Park. Oh, we're actually right here at the splash pad area where the children, it's the playground and the splash pad, and there's 5 different panels and 3 pieces of art per panel. I have to say today, I think summarizes what the park represents. I came out here earlier for an event, and there was a school of about 40 students, diverse kids, all different kinds of kids. They're playing football, they're playing in the splash pad, they probably were in 5th grade. They're enjoying the art, and the art speaks about diversity, everything from weight to your color to accepting others. And so to be here at the park and watch students stand in front of these pieces of art and read it and see the art, and then see that there's 2 pieces right here that are Lakewood Ranch students, one out of 4,500 applicants from all over the world, is amazing that we have students right here in Manatee County representing us. And when the art is selected, they don't even know where the artist is from. So that says a lot about our school system and about the talent of our kids here right in our own county. Well, I think the impact is exactly what Realize Bradenton is about. Realize Bradenton is about bringing people downtown to enjoy the arts, the culture, the history, the heritage, and the sports. And I mean, when you come here and you see the art here, and then you see the culture, and then you see kids playing, it kind of summarizes everything. And you see all different walks of life here. And you see people stand, I was here the other day and I see a couple with their child who's in a wheelchair, and they're crying and taking a picture, and that is what it's all about. And it's about bringing a community together to come down to a beautiful, beautiful park, spend the day, enjoy beautiful art. It's coming down in a week, and it's an overwhelming sadness that Embracing Our Differences leaves, because it has had such a tremendous impact on the Riverwalk. Oh, I think they feel totally different. And one of the things that I have really enjoyed, because I am at the Riverwalk so much, is that I am passionate about art, is you may look at a piece, and I've had people say, does this piece mean this? And I said, it's about your interpretation. And that's what I love, because what I might see in a piece of artwork, somebody else would see differently. So I have loved so much looking at all the different people standing in front of the art, appreciating it. And when it first went up, it just felt almost like a spiritual place. It's just changed the dynamics of the whole park, because it is a very diverse park. It's all different people come here, young, old, handicapped, rich, poor, and it's just exactly what downtown Bradenton is about. We are the friendly city, and we love our residents, and we love our visitors. My favorite is, I mean, they are so amazing, but I do have to go back to seeing the students that are represented here and the Lakewood Ranch. They have to be my favorite, because I'm so proud of our kids, and to see the quotes locally. But then it's amazing when, if you look at a piece and the piece of artwork is done by somebody from the Philippines, and the quote is from somebody from Montana. Now, the artist and the quote had nothing to do. They don't know anything about each other. It's amazing to see how you think the quote was written for the piece of artwork, and it wasn't. And that it's just amazing how it all comes together from around the world. I hope we have it back like Sarasota, and that it comes back for 2 months next year. That is my dream, and my goal is that Embracing Our Differences will be here next year for 2 years.
Well, I guess we started talking about this 2 years ago and the possibility of this, and so all we had to do is build the Riverwalk to accommodate it. So we got that done, and it is interesting to me, and it's just fascinating that this came along. We had this in our minds as we were doing the Riverwalk, because the Riverwalk is really a people's park, and we wanted it to be as diverse as it could possibly be, and it's worked out that way. We have kids from everywhere, and the kids are together, and we see them on the playground right over here in a big double swing, and there are 5 and 6 of them packed on that swinging, and they're white kids, they're black kids, they're Asian kids, they're Hispanic kids, and they don't know the difference. And that's what we're trying to talk about here, is that. And that's what this park is all about. We're trying to serve everybody who's a citizen of Bradenton and everybody who wants to come and see the park. And so having this is just such a show place, and it just reflects exactly what we wanted to have happen in the park. And so we're really proud to have it here.
Well, I think from embracing our differences point of view, we certainly are proud to be here, and it does fit our mission to a T, including the relationship between the city of Sarasota, where this started, and the fact that we're now in Bradenton. The experience that we've had, Mayor, and we've said this to you several times, with the people here, starting with you, that have welcomed us with open arms and made this experience just a joy for us to be here in Bradenton. So we're very happy to be here.
Well, thank you. And personally, in what we see here is it has both words and pictures. Now, I'm a frustrated artist. I've been a member of the Art Guild for 30 years. Now, I have no skills in that area, but I appreciate it, and I collect Manatee County artists. But I was a newspaper editor for 25 years, so I can appreciate and understand the words. So putting those two together is a natural thing for me to celebrate.
Well, and it's interesting, Mayor, because when we collect the quotations, the people that are writing the quotations don't know what artwork it might get connected to, and vice versa.
Yeah.
And yet every year we find just perfect quotations to go with the artwork. Yeah. And I think that's partly because the basic issues that we're trying to explore here and to introduce people to are universal.
Right.
And they reflect a certain kind of values that we're trying to project. And so the combination of words and art really does do the job of expressing the mission of embracing our differences.
Yeah, and coming from children, essentially, even though some of them are 12th graders, they're still kids in our eyes, and the thoughts that they have, I mean, you just sometimes wonder, where did that come from? That was great. You know, and we wish people could do that. My daughter, I know, she used to go fishing with me, and I had a big Bronco, and she would sit between the seats as we were driving along towing the boat. And we're going one morning early, and Stacy says to me, "Dad, you know what I really like? I like being on that road you've never been on."
Oh,
and so goodness. You're like, wow. And so that's what this kind of thing is, and thoughts that come through.
And there's another aspect to it, which is the fact that we are both a local and an international art exhibit.
Right.
We get art and quotations from all over the world, and we have a particular emphasis inside the school system to produce these. So Bradenton is participating in both an international art exhibit and a very localized one that I think is very impactful in the community.
Right. Well, the appreciation for this opportunity for you guys to bring it up to Bradenton, we appreciate that as much as you appreciate us. The reason we have open arms is we wanted this. We want this to happen. The school system has embraced this, and they're developing a track and a path that some kids can go down, and this is the kickoff of it, and this is what it started. Even the curriculum is being developed, although I know we already have one, but you spent 10 years developing that. We're now developing one that's tailored specifically to the kids in Bradenton, so we're very excited about this. We're a believer in the message that's here. And so any way that we can enhance that is a great thing for us. We believe in that in the city, and we believe in that in the things that we do. We believe in our hiring practices, and we certainly believe that this ought to happen in our education system. So anything that can enhance that, and this program certainly does that, we'd love to have you back as long as you want to come to Bradenton.
Well, I can guarantee you we're coming back, And I also can guarantee you we're going to do everything we can to make this, like the Sarasota exhibit, 2 months. Because when we've seen the impact that it's had here and the response of people to it, it deserves 2 months here. And so we're going to work on how to do that in a way that makes sense.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. We have people talk about it all the time.
Yeah.
Let me tell you a little bit about the logistics of how we display the art. It's a rather unique way of doing it. These banners, they're actually vinyl, printed for us locally here. All the money that we spend to do all this, we try and keep it into the local economy, and we're very proud of that. But they're 12.5 feet high, 16 feet across. It's a very unusual way of displaying the art. And we put them up in what we call tripods, which is kind of a word that we made up to describe what we created here. But it's just basically plumbing piping that we've created the framing for it. We have a crew that comes out, they put it up. They're an amazing team. We've been working with them for 10 years. It takes them about a day and a half to put up the entire exhibit. And they come out and tighten it up. You can see we tie it down with these vinyl straps. We actually worked with, about 4 or 5 years ago, we worked with a structural engineer who helped us kind of redesign some of the parts of it. A lot of the parts that you see that keep the corners together, that's all custom made. We have them custom manufactured for us. But these things are really pretty good, and they'll withstand winds up to about 60, 70 miles an hour. We found out last year that the framing is now so strong that what tends to give way before anything else is the banners will rip on us. Again, it happens very seldom, but last year we had a couple banners rip, which was a good thing, because I'd much rather have the banners ripped than to have these things take off and fly. They're kind of like big sails, with a big wind coming along. But they're certainly anchored, and fortunately, with their new design, we really haven't lost any in quite some time.
The concept of embracing our differences grew out of an event that was held in Sarasota in 2004 that was sponsored by the Florida Holocaust Museum in St. Petersburg. There was a traveling exhibit of essentially digital art that had been curated in a museum in Israel that had gone to all of the major cities in the world where conflict was of particular interest. South Africa, Northern Ireland. And the museum sponsored bringing that exhibit to St. Petersburg and to Sarasota. And so a group of us got together to bring it to Sarasota with the idea that it would be a one-time event. But as part of the process of bringing that exhibit, we created a steering committee, a group of dedicated people, to make the month-long exhibit really a success, because we had workshops and things like that. The consequence was so much positive feedback from our community that the steering committee decided we should try to do this every year. And with Sarasota having the reputation of being a terrific arts community, we said, well, maybe we can create original art created each year, and have a fresh exhibit, and that is something we can continue on doing. And sure enough, here we are 10 years later, and it's been successful beyond our wildest dreams. And one of the reasons it's been successful, and I'd have to say the number one reason behind the fundamental mission, is the person who's sitting next to me, Michael Shelton, our executive director. And Michael can talk to you about some of the things that have transpired over these years of how we've grown in terms of the number of people that see it, the number of students involved, artwork, and so forth. So why don't you give us a little idea about that, Michael?
I have to kind of laugh, Dennis, because when you talk about the first year in which we had original art, if you remember, we had 126 submissions. We had 39 spots we had to fill. and I think we were, we got about enough good art to fill maybe half of those 39 spots. And we ran off to Larry Thompson at Ringling College and said, Larry, we need some student art real quick here. And they stepped in and filled in the holes for us, and we got through that first year of the original art. Since then, though, we've gone from 126 submissions that first year to this year, with their art and quotations, over 4,400 submissions that we've gotten from 52 countries, 41 states. We get submissions from parts of the country that I have to look up on the maps sometimes. Okay? I didn't even recognize the countries that they were coming from. One of them that we got this year came from the Indian Ocean, little island nation in the Indian Ocean. It's grown every single year. We started out, the first year we estimated we had about 100,000 people that visited the park for the 1 month that it was up. Last year, we have since expanded the exhibit to 2 months in Sarasota, and we were almost at 250,000 people, 250,000 people came through the park to see it. Our education program, which is really our main focus, I guess about the third year that we did this, we as a group sat down and agreed unanimously that our main goal through this, in addition to presenting the exhibit and working with the community and community groups, but was to focus on our education programs, our education initiatives. And that's, I think, what I personally am most proud of, and I think anybody associated with this is going to tell us the same thing. We've grown from our first year having 1,200 students that participate in our education programs to last year, I think it was almost 23,500 or something like that. We're one of the largest education programs in Southwest Florida now. And our initiatives cover the range, everything from providing transportation to bringing children into the park. As you can see, some of them, playing behind us, to providing workshops for teachers, the curriculum, all the materials that they need, teaching the teachers how to teach the program. We've expanded out this year. We're very proud of a 2-day workshop that we did in partnership with Ringling College, in which for art teachers, and we actually brought in 27 art teachers who were, had the benefit of 2 days of just solace and learning and rediscovering their own inner creativity and learning from other teachers and from the Ringling professionals, how to take that creativity and how to take our message and incorporate it into the creation of the art. We saw this year there was a direct correlation between the teachers who participated in that workshop and the quality and the number of art pieces that we received. For the first time, we had 4 pieces that came from Lakewood High School that are absolutely excellent works of art. They're fabulous. The same thing with our quotations. We started a similar workshop with our quotations writers, and we work with the Kennedy Center in Washington, D.C. for that. We bring in a phenomenal lady who does a workshop, and we saw a direct correlation between that workshop, what the teachers learned in that, and the quality of the submissions that we received. And once again, I believe we have about 10 or 12 Manatee County students who have quotations that have been selected.
And Michael, one of the things that comes to mind when you talk about our Manatee students, one of the motivating factors for us to come to this beautiful Riverwalk is the fact that in prior years, any Manatee student that wanted to take advantage of the classrooms, that wanted to take advantage of our free busing program, had to travel all the way down to Sarasota. And when you think about the fact that the school systems are about the same size, and we have, of the 23,000 you mentioned, we have 18,000 of the students from Sarasota County that actually visited the exhibit. There are other ways they participate, but the free busing program that we have was last year utilized by just over 4,000 Manatee County students. So what we envision is over the next 4 or 5 years, that number coming to this beautiful venue will get up to the level that Sarasota County is right now. So that was really a major element to us wanting to expand into Manatee County.
It really was, and you know, there's just a lot of logistics in bringing students from Manatee County down to Sarasota. The least of which is it did make a whole lot of sense when we had a beautiful, you know, venue up here. So being able to take the exhibit to Manatee County students was, you know, a really driving factor behind it. We didn't realize how gorgeous this place was until we got up here, though. Okay, I mean, this has exceeded every dream that I personally had. And I must confess that I find myself coming up here a whole lot more than I do going to the exhibit in Sarasota. And I have to drive by the exhibit in Sarasota to get up here. Okay. So it's...
Yeah, and Michael, there's another thing that comes to mind when we talk about our education program and in particular the busing program. Each year we get wonderful feedback from our teachers that we've developed relationships with over the years who bring their children there. And I know you'll remember this one, that one of the teachers a few years back sent us in her evaluation form the fact that she said that after her children visited the exhibit and the whole school came, that as she phrased it, there was a blanket of kindness over that school for weeks after the visit to the exhibit. And that's the kind of impact we want. And so we know with our educational programs and initiatives that we have that that we're going to impact generations of school children, delivering the message of embracing our differences.
And we do, and we there's just literally hundreds and hundreds of experiences. You know, since we started, we've had 117,000 children, you know, visit the exhibit and go through our programs, and that's not including the estimated about 25,000 this year. We all have our favorites, and that's your favorite, Dennis. But personally, mine was the young girl who said, when asked, you know, what did you learn today? And she said, I learned that everybody's going to be somebody. Okay? And that's that short little you know girl's comment. That never leaves my mind, especially in the springtime of every year when we do this, because the students who get selected, when their art is selected, when their quotations are selected, they become like rock stars within their schools. Especially, you know, just imagine when an entire fifth grade, you know, every fifth grader in a school comes to visit the exhibit and sees, you know, little Johnny's work of art, 12.5 by 16 feet, or sees, you know, little Mary's quotation on that same banner. It changes their lives, and we hear that time and time and time again from the teachers. We hear it from the parents as well.
Well, Michael, another aspect to this, which we've mentioned earlier, is the fact that it is both an international and a local art exhibit. And we emphasize, particularly to the children who get their art selected, that if you have 4,500 either artwork or quotations submitted and you've been picked 1 out of 39, that's a pretty impressive thing to have experienced and done. And particularly when it represents just an international, it's just not a local competition, it's both local and international. So that really, and the other aspect about being international that comes home to me is that almost no matter where it comes, the universal principles that we are standing for, that we're here to have people get a better grasp of, they are universal. They're throughout the world. This is not something that's just America. It's the world. People want to experience what it's like to see different people and be open and be kind and treat people with respect. So it's
and probably the best example we have of that this year, Dennis, is, you know, out of our 39 works of art that we have displayed here, 4 of them for the first time originated in Iran.
Yes.
You know, we were quite shocked, and our judging is a blind judging process. You know, we don't set aside a number for students. We don't set a number aside for international artists. You know, the art is judged on its own. The quotations are judged on its own. We don't know where it comes from, where it originated, who did it, what have you. What you see is truly a juried exhibit. And it is something, you know, when you get selected from, you know, over 4,400 pieces from around the world, that pretty much says something about it. something else that we're really proud of, and we're the only organization that has a program like this. We have partnerships. This year, we currently have partnerships with 13 different organizations, everybody from South Florida Museum to Florida Studio Theater to the Supervisor of Elections Office. And what we do is we let, when we bring children into the exhibit and we provide the transportation and we pay for those buses, those school buses that bring the kids in, we let them pick a second venue to go to. By working with these partners we have, they take their education programs and they take our mission and kind of weave it into their mission, so that what the kids get at the end of the day is a full day of what we really kind of refer to as character education and diversity education. And one of my favorite examples of this, and not being an educator, I didn't see all of this at first, but we have a great partnership with Moat Marine, and Moat Marine actually comes up here into the park here, into the Riverwalk, and they take their ocean programs and demonstrate the diversity under the water, and teach the kids how, for the entire ecosystem to survive in the oceans, it's dependent upon diversity, and we can learn a lot from what goes on right just a few feet from here under the water. Last year we had over 8,000 children participate in that program, and I just ran the numbers last night, and this year we're up to over 15,000 children that'll participate in that Make a Day of It program, as we call it.
And Michael, when you mention character education, that kind of brings to mind kind of a sense that I'd like to express about what we are about. This is about character education. It's about enhancing the moral and ethical fiber of our community and reminding ourselves, as well as our children, that it is a very powerful thing to be kind. It's very powerful to be courageous, which you have to do to stand up against hatred and prejudice. And we teach that, to teach the kids not to be bystanders, but to be upstanders, and to avoid stereotyping and name calling, and to actually treat people with respect and the use of civility in our dealings. So that kind of overall universal message, we think, is a very powerful one, and one that we all as a community can stand some constant reminding about that.
Exactly. We don't have a hidden agenda. We're not trying to indoctrinate people with anything. It's all about teaching people to be respectful to each other and understand that everybody is entitled to be who they are, and to be respected for that. And we see evidence of that year after year after year.
And one of the things that I think, Michael, we found over the years is that has proved out what I think you and I knew, the power of art. The power of art allows people to look at things differently, use a different part of their brain. So there's an openness that's created by virtue of seeing art that has in it these kind of universal messages. And I think that's why we've had the numbers that you've related to earlier, the number of people, because people really get it. They really believe that this is good for our community. And so when we think about generations and generations of children that come through our program, our educational initiatives, and come down here to the park, that we think that it's going to be a better world as a consequence of the work that we are doing.
Well, this is our 10th anniversary, and we're now getting to the point where we've got that first generation of children. Those first 1,200 children, have now, kind of worked their way through the system, and they're graduating. And we have just time and time again, we've seen how we have impacted children, and we have changed their lives, whether it be by creating budding young artists. I'll never forget the young boy who 2007 had a piece that every media outlet from here to, from St. Pete to and Tampa to Fort Myers came to the exhibit, and they all wanted to interview him. And I remember walking out of the park one day, and he said to me after his 9th interview, he said, "Wow, maybe people really do care what I think." Okay? And that was kind of an aha moment for him, I think, but it was maybe even a bigger one for me. Fast forward a couple years later, I ran into his parents at an event at Ringling College. He was a Ringling College student. He's now since graduated. there was a young man from Pakistan. You remember the young man who had a piece selected. He sent us a wonderful note about how excited it was and how he'd always wanted to be an artist but never thought he had the ability. Fast forward a couple of years later, I got an email from him, and he's now working for a greeting cards company in Pakistan. About a year after that, I got an online contribution for $5 from Pakistan. Okay? And I thought, wow. I went back, and it was a young man. So I do think that we really do make an impact, not only locally but around the world too. What I want them to take away at the end of the day is, first of all, is to just look behind us, okay? And I want them to have a good time, because if they're having a good time, they're going to pay attention to the surroundings, and it's the art that's going to have that message for them. And I want them to grow up and to be kind and respectful, and to eventually make this world a better place, make our community a better place, make our state a better place, make our country a better place.
When I think about the overall impact, I think about how much suffering has happened in our world because people have developed views about looking at other people who are different than they are and causing pain. So if we can impact particularly our children to understand that that hatred and prejudice hurts, that words hurt, and at the same time understand that differences enrich people's lives, that the world is a wonderful place out there, and I think we can play a small part in creating a mindset about how to look at the world around us in a way that is filled with kindness. It's filled with respect for other people and has less and less hatred and prejudice in it. That's what I would hope for us to accomplish.
And Dennis, I'll just leave us with one final quotation, and I believe she was a 4th grader. And it was the one that said, "I never knew how much words hurt until they were aimed at me."
Yeah.
That's what we want young people to learn.